Good evening, everyone. This is Astro Numerologist Lloyd Strayhorn on Live with Lloyd, where the joy of numerology is the joy of learning and enlightenment. We were supposed to have had astrologer, spiritual healer, Monica Bay. For some reason, it wasn't able to, but I've got the person that brought her to my attention that you see on the screen, the very distinguished and highly respected astrologer Dominic Holmes out of the city of Detroit. And I just want to thank everybody very, very much. Let me do this. All righty. And let me do this. All right, everybody, thank you very much. Listen, I've learned something. I've been doing this for about 6, 7 months. And I had a guest on Monday that broke the Guinness record, and we just talked about an hour and change. And I'm going to be cognizant because some of you wrote in with the birthday. So when I have those kind of guests where birthday readings are not going to be a part of the program, like tonight, it's going to be nothing but readings. Okay. I've got one of the best in the business, Dominic Holmes, is going to be doing this. But the point is, I made a note to myself, thanks to the response that I got, that what I'm going to do is when I do have a guest such as Donald Thomas, the 3-time Guinness record holder, if it's not taking that type of call, I'm going to just let people know that for this segment, I won't take readings so people can be informed. Before I go further, I want to thank all of those that chimed in about yesterday being 2/22/2022. That was fun. I got a text about almost close to 12 midnight last night about that Jimmy Kimmel, he's the late night comedian, the late night show, took a snippet of what I said and posted it on his show, but it was a positive joke, okay? So anyway, this world was small. But anyway, if you didn't get it yesterday, you're not going to get it in our lifetime or for a whole nother many centuries. But anyway, that's another point. But in the meantime, though, before I bring on my distinguished guest for today, which is Dominic Holmes, I always like to give the forecast. Okay. So the forecast here as you see it. All righty. Um, right now, oh, please like, share, and subscribe. I have to do that because I forget to do it. So I just make sure I put that in. My attitude is like if you genuinely like the programming, share if you genuinely think that it will help people by sharing the knowledge, and subscribe if that way you keep up with what's going on um every week. I've been talking so much I'm kind of like hoarse a bit, but anyway, today's Wednesday. It is the 23rd of February. We're in the sign of Pisces. The moon is now in the sign of Sagittarius, which is ironically the sign of my guest. It's an 8 universal month, a 3 universal week, a 4 universal day. The signs that are going to be doing well today are Aquarius, Leo, Gemini, Virgo. All the signs do well, but these 4 are likely to be more of the standout, as well as those born on the 4th, the 5th, the 13th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 31st of the month. So now, without further ado, I'm going to now bring in my distinguished guest. Hold on, let me get something straight here a second. There we go. There we go. There I go, and there we go here. Dominic, how you doing, buddy? Oh, ho.
My apologies, I muted it.
Don't worry, Dominic. Thank you for joining me this evening. We will reschedule Monica for another time, but it was because of you when I had you on the show that you brought up her name when you were going to make a delivery or run, as they say, okay? And she happened to have called you, and that changed the whole perspective on things too. First of all, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good.
Was there anything for you other than the numbers yesterday that stood out that it's once in a lifetime event?
The United States Pluto return.
What does that mean? Because the United States numerically is going to have some problems this year.
That means they wrote some checks and they about to bounce.
Uh-huh.
So Pluto is a planet that, it gives us the power to transform. But the things about Pluto, if you're being selfish, if you're being self-centered, if you're not, using this power that Pluto gives you in order to transform and help the masses, it's going to hold you accountable. When it come back around to see you, it's going to hold you accountable.
So, let me get this straight. So you mean that the nature of the planet Pluto favors the masses, and for those that have just been about greed and avarice, those kinds of things, that the people or the country or the nation or the city or whatever is involved is going to start having to pay a price?
Yes, Pluto, if it can't transform you with its power, it'll destroy you with its power.
Does that explain why you say checks are about to bounce? That right now there is the inflation, food is going through the roof. I went to the store thinking I bought maybe, how sometimes you make a guesstimate. It wasn't like about maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 items. I said, well, it's going to be about $30. That thing was over $50.
Yeah.
Here in New York City, Con Ed, our electrical supplier, that has shot the roof. So this is all a part of this. When did Pluto go make its aspects to the United States?
Well, the United States, when it was formed in 1776, Pluto was right at 27 degrees Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is a sign of traditional power. It's a sign of traditional power. It's a sign of discipline, power, and things like that. And it's in the United States' second house of money, values, self-worth. And when it comes to a nation, the second house has to do with the nation's resources. And the resources of this nation are the people, the taxpayers, because the GDP, which they put at $20 trillion a year, is based on how much tax revenue they can collect from the people. Okay. Now, when COVID first hit, you had the GDP go from 20 trillion to 4 trillion. This is why they stopped the mandates and the closures and things like that, because this nation don't run without generating tax revenue. That's the reality of the situation. This nation don't run without tax revenue. So it's not that they care about your health. It's not that the pandemic's going anywhere or getting any better. They need to make money.
In fact, that explains to me why they're now going to monitor Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, all forms that we've had in the past now have to be refilled or filled out all over again with more specificities about it. And when I was talking with a finance person, they were saying that this year coming up, that the IRS is going to really take a very hard line about anything where any source of money comes, whether it's from GoFundMe or whatever the case is, Cash App, PayPal, you name it. Is that part of the reason why they're trying to recoup every penny they can get their hands on? Is that what you're saying?
Pluto's in the house of money. Now, Capricorn, it can be a very greedy sign, a very callous and sign of lacking consideration. But again, Pluto, if you're not using this to help the masses, Pluto is going to tap that behind.
I feel you. And isn't Capricorn an opposition sign to Cancer, the United States?
Yeah, their sun sign.
Yes, exactly.
Not only is it a lot of oppositions going on, against the sun sign of the United States, with the Pluto return, like I said, it's coming to see if you've been using your power the right way. And all the limitations and boundaries, restrictions and things like this that they've been putting forth, it hasn't been for the benefit of the masses. All the callousness and cruelty, they haven't stopped no problems in the world. They've escalated them to fill their own coffers with gold. every war this nation has used its power to further its hegemonic interests.
But you know what? To me, Dominic, don't these same people in power realize they can't take that money with them when God calls them home? And no one leaves this planet alive, the last time I checked. So, do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but you have to realize that some people do what they do because they feel like the rules don't apply to them.
Yeah, well, the
Even when they
laws.
make the rules, they'll find a way to circumvent the rules that they make for everybody else. That's just in their nature.
Yeah, but how do they think they're going to live forever? How do you do that?
They don't have the spiritual or the intellectual capacity to do that. That's why Walt Disney's been frozen for like 50 years in a cryogenic chamber.
Hold up. You mean Walt Disney, born December the 5th, is in a state of frost or freeze?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's a lot of these rich people that put themselves in cryogenic chambers, hoping that, you know, one day their money will help find a cure for the disease that they have or old age and things like that.
I don't think that's happening according to the laws of nature and spirituality. What about you?
It's not. Once your soul is gone out that body, that's it.
It's a wrap, as they say. Oh, and by the way, for everybody, let me let you know. Please submit your birthdays. Today is all about readings. I'm going to keep this brother on for a little bit so we can get to everybody. And again, whenever I have a guest who is not going to do readings, I'll let you know so you kind of know. So those, you know, you might say, well, listen, he's not doing a reading, so let me go and do something else. You're perfectly free. No one is locked in. I want you to, if you enjoy the program, stick around because I always try to bring some knowledgeable guests to your attention. But this brother here is most knowledgeable when it comes to the study of the stars. He has his Instagram that I subscribe to, and he's got a lot of other features that we'll be talking about as we go along. So now with that said, can you finish up what else you were saying?
I think it's important that everybody, you know, do what they can to, you know, ensure that you have some control over your food supply. Make sure you have some control over your food supply.
What do you mean, buddy? That's interesting. That's very interesting. You said that too.
If you have a windowsill where you can grow some food, you might want to do it. You might want to start learning how to do it. Whether it's a windowsill or you're growing in a 5-gallon tote or whatever, you need to, you know, start making sure you have a way to feed your family. You know, Pluto is also the planet that rules nuclear energy.
Uh-huh.
Pluto rules nuclear energy. And they're barking up the right tree right now. And I know a lot of people got this, you know, fantastic idea in their mind that America's unstoppable and untouchable. But I guarantee you, they got something for their ass.
No civilization, if man has studied history, has ever lasted forever. Even Egypt. Not one. Not one.
Exactly.
And I don't think, do you think because the United States and other countries like Russia and whatnot, they got all these bombs? Because if they use all the bombs, all they're going to do is blow humanity to smithereens anyway. So I
understand that
personally.
I understand that, and this is what I'm gonna tell you. It's not gonna be the type of war they think it's gonna be. It's not gonna be the type of war they think it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, number one, when you look at last year, you seen them pipelines getting shut down, hackers, computer hackers shutting down the meat packing plants, shutting down the oil pipelines. They don't even understand, like the people don't understand. When you cut off the food supply and the gas supply, you know, drain banks, it's going to cause civil unrest beyond your imagination.
Is that by design or part of the cosmic order of things, Dominic?
Well,
that makes sense.
When you look at, you know, Pluto in the second house of money, if your economy hasn't been helping the people, your economy gets destroyed.
And Pluto is definitely a transformational planet for sure.
And that's why I've been trying to explain to people, you know, you might want to start transitioning to cryptocurrency because Pluto's next sign is Aquarius. And
Now,
Aquarius
what does that mean? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Aquarius rules cryptocurrency. It rules online businesses. It rules the internet and technology in general.
And this is Pluto in Aquarius?
Yeah, Pluto in Aquarius. So we're transforming from our material being based in a tangible place because Capricorn is an earth sign and money is the traditional currency. Aquarius is an abstract sign. As Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's going to take the financial system into an abstract form of money.
Does this explain the whole
form of money?
Does this explain the whole upcoming concept of the metaverse? Interesting, Dominic. That's why you're my man. You know what I'm saying? So we get these conversations.
And that's why I try to tell people, you know, what's coming, and people choose to be stuck on some stupid NFT pictures. And
what is Facebook? NFTs for because I'm not familiar with it? What is that for those that may not be aware like I am?
Again, you know, an NFT is a non-fungible token. You know, and you can tokenize anything. You can tokenize a book. You can tokenize a record. You can tokenize, you know, music scores. You can tokenize a science and technology book. And only give access to people that have a key.
How does the person or persons get this key?
You can purchase a key for an NFT to buy it yourself, or somebody can have an NFT that multiple people interact with. Like the metaverse will be, you know, digital properties, which are NFTs. So if you own Kroger or a grocery store in the metaverse, you know, people would pay to visit your grocery store in the metaverse.
What do they get out of it? See, this is what I don't understand. So they go visit. So, and
you buy the groceries in the metaverse with your cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And then a drone drops it off at your house.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. There's a technological revolution going on right now that people don't want to wrap their mind around. That's why you see Adidas getting in on it. You see Crypto.com bought the Staples Center where the Lakers play. People are talking about making a NFT NFL teams and football teams and things like this. And you know, black people are celebrating buying clothes companies. Shit that doesn't matter.
Got you. Feel you on that one. Feel you on that one, Dominic.
We buy clothes companies. We buy liquor companies. We buy weed companies. And shit that doesn't matter. And that's why they don't respect our votes. We don't own shit that keeps the world moving. We spend hundreds of $1 million on bullshit.
Okay, I hear you on that one. All right.
You know, okay. They had, you know, Jay-Z and Meek Mill and Lil Baby all over social media talking about they spent $250 million on a throwback jersey company. Jerseys. Really? Jersey shirts. Not on a mobile telecommunications, not on a shipping company. You can buy a freight ship for $1 million. Not one black person is shipping, importing, exporting nothing over here. And when you ship and import and export, you control the prices.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
We don't own no shipping. We don't own no telecommunications. We don't own no constructions. You know, we might own some construction equipment. We might own some houses and real estate, but we don't own no concrete companies. We don't own no quarries. We don't own no utility companies. No solar companies. We don't own nothing that matters. Nothing. And that's why they don't have to listen to us when it comes time to vote. They get our votes and tell us get the fuck on.
My granddaughter's listening. Okay.
Excuse me, I apologize.
It's all right. It's all right. No. But I
They get our
understand
votes.
exactly where you're coming from. I do. I
They
understand.
get our votes because we don't own nothing that matters. And we don't aspire to own nothing that matters. Because we have in our mind that being a boss is all the shiny stuff. The fancy cars and the watches and the jewelries. We associate that with being a boss.
You know, I saw an experiment that they did recently. And what they did, there was a high-end store. And they bought shoes in from Payless shoes. And they put them around. And people was talking about, oh, these are the rave. And I'll spend $15,000 for them. I mean, the power of suggestion. And then when they were all told that these shoes was like $15, $20, $30, you know, you should have saw the look on their face. But I mean, it shows you just because it was in this high-end store, and then they were interviewing the people. Well, look at the elegance of the line. I mean, really, 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 man. I mean, it's the power of suggestion and the power of the mind is absolutely amazing. And you should have saw the looks on their face when they found out that those who spent tens of thousands for those products up in that store, those products was less than $50 a piece for each item of shoes.
And truth be told, that's about how much it costs to make Gucci and all that stuff, because they outsource the work to Vietnam and, you know, China or India or Dominican Republic, where they have to pay the people next to nothing.
Wow. You know what? We're going to get back to that. But I also want to talk about, remember I was telling you about this thing about these planets being retrograde, because if based upon what you're saying, this is going to be a hot summer in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Can you explain some of these? And I'll take it off the screen in a minute so people can see exactly what we're talking about, these planets. And notice 3 of the 4 planets are retrograde in fire signs.
Okay. Now, Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn. Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, which means it's going to go back over the place and make a station. Making a station is called when a planet goes back over a planet, retrograde, and then it has to go back over it again. So this is like making the United States have a Pluto return 3 times.
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound too good to me.
Because it's going to go retrograde and go back over the United States natal Pluto in the 2nd house. And a lot of things that are going on right now are going to come back into the forefront. And then once it goes direct again, which is going to be about, let me look at my ephemeris. Now, if you guys are interested in astrology and don't have a computer, you need to get an ephemeris. This is going to tell you the positions of the planets. You can get it from 1900 to 2000. This one goes from 2000 to 2100. It gives you the information and location of all planets. And even though I have astrology software on my computers, I always keep my ephemerises, because there's no guarantee that we're going to have power all the time, or I'm going to have access to the computer, or that the computer program doesn't have a flaw in it.
But you know, the beauty of it for me, when you go look at that ephemeris, it tells you how the laws of mathematics work. And if you understand the laws and the movement and the motions of the planet, you can project even past that 100-year ephemeris.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking for when Pluto goes back direct in October the 8th.
Of this year?
Yeah, 2022. And I just got a text from Monica. She had an emergency, so
don't worry, we'll have her back on.
Yep. And around December of 2022, it's going to be back right over the United States natal Pluto. It's going to be right back over that planet. So expect for this year to be very, very intense. Intense, you know.
And it doesn't mean that people should be in a panic or hide under a rock, because that's not going to help people at all.
Not
It's
at
just
all.
about being aware, okay? Having the mental mindset of being aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And being prepared.
Absolutely. Excuse me. I had, let her know I'm covering for her.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
The awareness and being prepared is important, so you don't get left behind. If you see there's a shift coming, and in the exchange of currency, the things of value, you want to make sure that you're making the effort not to get left behind.
That would make sense to me, Dominic.
If tech is about to hit the forefront, there's places like you give your course, you teach your course on Udemy. There's all type of tech classes on there. People should be learning how to become programmers. Because if by chance a nuclear disaster happens, you're not going to want to be out working. Even if it doesn't happen here, it's going to be blowing all through the jet stream.
Yeah. Because the air is not just going to be confined to one place. I mean, wind goes all over the world. It's just when and where, what time. It's just for those that study the weather, meteorologists understand all too well what you're talking about. No one will be exempted. That should happen, whether here or in another part of this world. That should happen.
Right. Even if some accidental stuff happens. Like, I believe this year also, you're going to start to see a lot of sea life dying in the Pacific Ocean. Because of the Fukushima radiation. Now they're talking about moving that material around in the ocean and releasing it all into the ocean, because the water is so hot that it melts robots when they try to put them down there.
Really?
Yeah. And they don't talk about this on the news. But if they unleash that radioactive water into the ocean, it's going to be bad news, Jack.
For sea life and those that consume sea life. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if we look, again, Pluto is in Capricorn. The opposite of Capricorn is Cancer. Cancer isn't just a sign of the ocean and sea life. Cancer is naturally placed on the 4th house. The 4th house rules food.
So that means everybody needs to be very aware or begin. And it's so interesting because this 2022 are made up of twos. Two rules the stomach and the dietary laws that you deal with. You see what I'm saying? And
Yes,
two
sir.
rules the sign of Cancer. And it rules sea life and water or liquids in all of its form, whether gas or whatever the case may be. Well, not gas, but oil and other liquids and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? The oceans, the rivers, the brooks, the ponds, the creeks, the seas. So
I'm
this
opening
is
up my astrology program right now so I can give a good look.
okay. Good. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up for all these people. It's over 100 people. But anyway, we're going to start. You ready to deal with some of the birthdays too?
Yeah. Give me 1 second to power up this program.
Yeah. But let me say this too. This that Dominic is sharing with my viewers is not designed to scare or frighten, but I've told people that Dominic's got the kind of kitchen, if you can't stand the heat, don't come in it, because he keeps it real. All right. And the point is that very rarely, if you watch him or follow him on his Instagrams, are things that he did not say that comes to pass. In fact, that's how I met him when I was in Detroit. And I called him because he was talking about at that time the bombing of the churches, and all kinds of religious institutions. I'm saying, how's he doing this? Okay, but he was spot on, and so it was those kinds of things that led to the friendship. So, like all the guests I have on, they're very thorough, they're very helpful, and it is not designed to frighten anyone, but to raise your consciousness and raise your awareness. Not to be in a like, okay, we gotta cash in all the chips. Okay, we gotta go buy all the food in the supermarket or whatever. Because even if you bought all the food in the supermarket the way it's gonna be, there's gonna be other things. But what people can do, to me, Dominic, is learn how to eat one meal a day. You know, it's interesting. In the height of the Nation of Islam here in Harlem and across the country, they talked about one meal a day, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they were knocking him that, well, you're supposed to eat three square meals. But when I was working at the same time for this prestigious insurance company, you know what they said? Preferably, it should be one meal a day. Now, they didn't knock the company I was working for, but they knocked the Nation of Islam. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So, what I'm saying is, people may have to, like you said, grow your own food like you do. I see growing, I think I saw this one, you was growing some potatoes out in your backyard or whatever the case is, all right? So, I mean, so you have been ahead of it. And if people take advantage of the sun, put some dirt and start planting seeds in your windsill. At least
Right.
you'll start getting something, Now it ain't gonna be like getting in a supermarket, okay? But the point is having something is better than having nothing. All right. So learning how to eat one meal a day or intermittent fasting or one meal every other day will offset some of those should that occur based upon some of the aspects, not Dominic saying it, but he is just simply interpreting the aspects of the planet. You got to understand. So don't be calling Dominic at his house to serve him and his family. Talk about when you said this, that. Now he has nothing to do with it. He is just an interpreter of the stars. I'm sure if I had Hood Mystic, Kaya French, or any of the other astrologers on here, they would probably tell you that's what's going to be happening. So it's not just Dominic. Dominic just happens to be the interpreter of the planetary motions, how they're affecting the houses, and how they affect the nations, the cities, and the people, and stuff like that. So, okay, Dominic, with that, I'll stop running my mouth. We're going to turn this over to the people. Okay. Let's see on the comments. Brother Lloyd and Dominic, we got somebody, Brandon. Brandon, he's born October the 20th, 1988. Okay, in
Does he got his
PA.
birth time?
Yes, 8:30 a.m. All righty.
October 28th,
No,
88.
October the 20th.
Okay.
October 20, 1988 at 8:30 a.m. And by the way, Dominic is the most, when you go to an astrologer, I told you, you must give them numerical information, 5 pieces. One, the month in a number, the day in a number, the year in a number, the time in a number, and the location, which you say, well, Lloyd, that's not a number. But for those that understand the GPS system, that deals with the longitudes and the latitudes. It's like you putting your GPS in your phone, your car to find out where you're going. So this is what professionals like he does. Okay. So now let me know. Now we can switch off. Okay, like while you doing him, or
Go ahead.
anybody looking up the aspects, we'll do it like that. So we'll double team it. All righty, if you want.
What was his time again?
8:30 a.m.
What city and state was he born in?
PA. So I do know this. His key numbers are the 2, 7, and 6. He is born this year. For him, he's going through a 9 personal year. This 9 rules the planetary of Mars. So Mars may be strongly transiting his chart when you look at your ephemeris. It will also indicate that as a result of it, this will be a cycle that gives him choices such as terminating or ending a situation or fulfilling a dream or commitment or goal or objective that he has in mind. 9 is numerically rules long distance journeys, long distance trips. And I would tell anybody going through a 9, just not this person, but anybody going through a 9 when Mars is transiting, to stay away from people that want to argue, fuss, fight, guns, knives, sharp instruments, fender benders, all that stuff. Just be cool. All righty. Are you ready for him?
What, I didn't catch his city and state.
Oh, Pennsylvania, PA.
Pennsylvania is PA.
Hold up.
Is it Pittsburgh or Philly?
Let's say Philly. I have no idea, but let's say Philly. let's say Philly. Boy, we got a lot of people up here. Now we got people that don't have the exact time. Would that help, or at least you can at least determine where their moon is, or something like that,
Yeah,
right? Or some of the other
yeah, I can.
long ranging planets. Okay, but in the case of this person that called in, um, he's
He's
his
a
key number. Go ahead. You
he's a
ready?
he's a Libra with Scorpio rising. The moon sign is Aquarius. So on his transits, you're gonna have a lot of planets in your third house. You got Venus, Mars, Pluto, Mercury, and Saturn all transiting through your third house, which rules your mentality. It rules your communication style. It rules your relationship with your siblings. Now, with Venus and Mars there, Mars always tells you how you need to assert yourself. And with Mars and Capricorn is saying you need to assert yourself, especially in your communication and your thought process, in a more disciplined manner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, because if you fail to use discipline in your communication, it's going to cause you problems. Because Mars is in Capricorn, that means it's going to be making a square, to your natal sun sign. The sun is right now is being squared by Pluto, and your sun is in the 12th house. So you're having a lot of, issues and struggling with yourself about, some of your thoughts and some mentalities that you have, especially when it comes to, you know, conflict, whether you choose to get involved with conflict or you choose to avoid conflict. Pluto, in a square, it's a 90-degree angle. So you can
Mm-hmm.
go straight for so long, then you got to change trajectory. If
Mm-hmm.
you're failing to make the necessary changes in your thought and communication process, it's going to cost you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost you, brother. So my advice to you and my sound advice to you is that you really tap into your own personal power because you have Pluto in your first house. So you got some spiritual ability. You got some
Mm-hmm.
charisma about yourself. It's important that you're not using that to manipulate and control others because your sun is in the 12th house. And Pluto
Mm-hmm.
squaring the sun in the 12th house by transit, if you using your power and influence for the wrong way, don't be surprised if you don't end up in jail.
Okay. Well, knowing this person, I know he's not going that way, but this is always good.
Good,
I've got
good.
another person here, B. Wright, Dominic. They never had their time of birth, but they were born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma on February the 18th, 1958. And yes, that presents a question because I'm looking through this quickly and I'm seeing what happens, A, if they don't have the time, and then what happens if they just give their month, their day in the year, and they don't give the location and or the time. We can still see where their moon is, right? Or where their
Yeah, we
Venus
can
or their
we can
okay.
see where the moon is, but we can't have an accurate
In terms
picture
of
of
the
their
aspect. Hmm.
houses or the aspects. We
Okay.
can just do a generic chart.
Well, we just give them the best we can because you're good at both. Okay. So while you're looking that up, I'll say that this person, be right, and we'll be right with Dominic in a second. Be right. It indicates you are air sign with a fire number. So this is perfect because you're dealing with elements that are very compatible with each other. In other words, as I always commonly say, everybody knows the golden rule. If there's a fire in your home or in a hotel, the one rule you do not do is open up the windows because air makes for combustion. So this person is in their elements, but it also indicates because they're in the sign of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, and nine is governed by the planet Mars, which is that deals with Scorpio and Aries, and in the minor way Leo. It means that this is a person who would be very strong-willed. They would like to be the master of their fate, and I always call the number nine the number of open enemies because nines, as a rule, that is born on the ninth or the 18th, like B right, or the 27th, they normally have a lot of self confidence. But what is happening is it's mistakenly interpreted by haters or people jealous or not knowing as being cocky or arrogant. And thus, this is what creates the open enemies. I think Dominic is ready. Let's get this over to him. Dominic, what do you say, buddy?
Well, her sun and moon are conjunct. She has the sun in Aquarius and her moon is in Pisces, but they're still conjunct, you know.
That
So,
means they're right next to each other. That's the word
yeah,
they're using for those that don't understand the way we do as astrologers and metaphysicians. Okay, go ahead.
that means it's within 10 degrees of each other. Now, a
Mm-hmm.
sun and moon conjunction would give you good understanding, you know, because your sun is in Aquarius, you're an innovative thinker, and the moon in Pisces. The moon, it tells us our drive and need. A moon in Pisces, it says you have a need to serve. You're probably a caretaker. You like to rescue people and things like that and take on other people's suffering. Now, the sun is how you consciously project your soul's energy. So the sun in Aquarius would be telling you you need to find innovative ways, to help others without harming yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what does the moon represent for those that may not understand? I
Again,
call it the silent one that you can't see what's on the mind, but you explain it.
the moon is our soul's drive and need. You know what you're here to do, like what's motivating you in this incarnation. And interesting enough, you know, her sun and moon are opposite her Pluto. She got Pluto in Virgo. So she struggles. She struggles with having to know when enough is enough for other people.
Okay.
You
Okay.
have to set clear boundaries and not allow yourself to be manipulated by details that don't really matter. Because if you're giving and somebody else isn't putting nothing back in your cup, it doesn't matter what the details are. It's unrequited. You can't pull nobody out of ditch if you're stuck in one.
Amen on that one, buddy. That's true. Very, very true. The next one, this person simply said, read me, but they provided all their information. They're born there in your city on September the 14th of 76 at 1:39 p.m. in Detroit, Michigan. So if they're born at 1:39 p.m., that means their sun should be located in about the ninth house. Would I be in the ballpark, Dominic?
Uh 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is about, you know,
No, they're 1:39 p.m.
139.
Yeah, this
139, yeah.
afternoon.
That's about the ninth house.
Yeah, okay.
That's about the ninth house.
Just checking. I'm learning as I go.
September
You know, the
14th.
one thing that people don't understand about astrology, it's a lifelong study. It really is. I mean, even the best still got to keep themselves kind of up to date and stuff.
Absolutely.
So while you're doing that, let me do this. And when you look, are you ready?
I'm
Okay, good. So I'll do this. This person is a Virgo 5 person. Now, what's interesting, they are an Earth sign with an air number. Now, I'm starting. I started last Thursday something called on Clubhouse, and it's called it's Numbers and You, but it's Learn from Lloyd with numerology, where I'm going to teach people how to do what I do. I already have an online course that's been very successful. But the clubhouse will allow people to come in, ask questions. I'm going to also invite other numerologists that I've had on this show that will also help me, although I haven't checked with them yet. Okay, fingers crossed. But I would like for all those in the room that come to visit to see different aspects of how people interpret numbers. Like I can have Hood Mystic on, other astrologers that's been on the show, but they will interpret it totally different. They will be in the ballpark, but their interpretations will be slightly different. So I want all of my people that join me, and that's Clubhouse every Thursday at 7 p.m. My number, all righty. And I welcome novices, I welcome beginners, and I welcome professionals. I want to learn too. As long as I've been doing this, I'm still open to learn. That's how we grow. All righty. So Dominic, what say you, buddy?
Okay, this person has a sun square moon. Their sun is in Virgo, and which is an earth sign, and their moon is in Gemini. Now, both of these are ruled by Mercury. But the moon in Gemini is telling you you need to get information. You know, you have a drive and need to get information because it's in your sixth house. It has to do with the services you provide to others. It's conjunct your Jupiter. Now, Jupiter rules your first house because you have Sagittarius rising. Now, in order for you to be, seen, because the rising sign tells how your energy is interpreted by the world, how the world sees you, it's important that you know, put your wisdom on display and be truthful about it when you speak. And also, because Jupiter is in its fall in Gemini, because it's the ruler of the opposite sign, it's telling you that you can't be reckless with your speech.
All righty.
You can't be reckless with your speech and allow yourself to get emotionally charged up, because Jupiter is conjunct your moon. So your moon and Jupiter are together in your sixth house of service.
So in other words, they got to think before they speak. That's what you're saying, right, buddy?
Think before you speak. And it's important also that you pay attention to your diet and don't do no smoking. Because you have Jupiter in Gemini and the moon, and Gemini is a sign that rules the lungs. If your lungs aren't functioning properly, you're not going to get the oxygen you need. You're not getting the oxygen you need. Your nerves aren't going to communicate properly. When you start having problems with your nerves, it's going to be in your arms, because Gemini rules the arms and the hands.
That's right. The arms, hands, and shoulders. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And the moon rules your subconscious. So things that you do that are automated, that you really don't have to think about, like keeping a hold of a glass when you grab it, you might start dropping things and things like that, and getting things like, fibromyalgia and other things that interfere with your nervous transmission to your hands. But that sun in the ninth house is definitely telling you, the way that you consciously project yourself is through learning, higher education, and knowledge. And because it's in the sign of Virgo, it's telling you to pay attention to the details. Because if you fail to pay attention to the details, you're not going to be able to articulate yourself in a right way, even to yourself. Because the sun is in the ninth house, and the ninth house isn't just about higher education. That's the house of wishes. And your wishes get fulfilled by the faith that you have in yourself, in your beliefs.
And you know what's interesting? 9 in numerology also means dreams come true, or wishes.
Yeah,
that's interesting how all of these sciences. I also developed a recent interest in cardology, and no matter which branch of the metaphysics, they're all tied in together. They're all connected. Now, this person is named Filthy Rich, okay? And they were born at 3:40 a.m. in the morning, just under the eastern horizon. They were born on June the 17th of 1983, and they did not say where. But in order to do it, because 3:40 a.m. is totally different in California versus New York City. Wouldn't that be correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or in Texas, which is an hour behind, or in another place, which is maybe ahead of us. So anyway, what can you tell without, is it possible you can get the time to get a sense of it? At least it tells me where the house is. The house would be somewhere, I guess, around about the second house, I would imagine.
3 a.m.
3:40 a.m. I would say it's somewhere in the second house.
Second or third.
Yep, somewhere around there. But anyway, while he's looking that up, let me do this. You would be an air sign with an earth number. So that means the air represents the reasoning, the power of deduction, mental gymnastics in terms of problem solving in your life. But at the same time, you're modified with an earth number, which tends to be more practical and down to earth with the ideas that you conjure up in your mind. It also indicates that as you've gotten older, life has gotten better. It does indicate, because I'll be talking in Clubhouse about the formative cycles, the cycles of life, which deals with your formative cycle, your productive, and your harvest or end of the year cycle based upon the year you're born. And so looking at this, it would tell me they're at a point in their life now where they're in their more of their second cycle, which means now is a time of getting things together, being more conservative, and whatever the case may be. However, let me turn this over to my guest, who is an expert in this.
Well, this is another combination. This is a reverse of the other one we did. This one has a Gemini sun and a Virgo moon. And I'm assuming that the NY meant that he was born in New York. If that is the case, then he has the sun and Mars conjunct in the second house, meaning he definitely doesn't have any issues with money, and that helps being a Taurus rising, because Taurus risings tend to get paid. They tend to get paid. But when you look at the placement of the sun and the moon, it's in a square, and the square comes from the moon in the fifth house. In the fifth house, it has to do with your children. It has to do with the things that you choose to do for fun, and it also has to do with, short-term not emotional, but romantic entanglements and things like this. And when the sun is squaring the moon in the fifth house, you may have a need to be creative, and you get caught up in the details, and you getting validated becomes more important than you getting things done.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
When you choose to being validated because his sun and Mars are in the second house of self-worth, that becomes the priority over actually manifesting and marketing yourself to the people that matter. You fail to pay attention to the details like your moon sign instructs you, and you fall off and you miss some blessings. But the good thing about his chart is, the sun and Mars are trine Saturn and Pluto in his sixth house. But Saturn and Pluto are both retrograde, so he has to understand boundaries when it comes to his workplace, the service he provides for others, and things of that nature. He needs to understand boundaries, and they're in the sign of Libra. So that means you can't be living all excessive if you want to get somewhere with your net worth.
Dominic, it's interesting. I've heard so much recently about people with boundaries. What is your interpretation, which means this person have to stay in their boundaries? Because I'm sure there are different interpretations.
If you want to build a house, you start with a foundation. If your foundation has too much mortar on the bricks, it's going to slide. If it doesn't have enough mortar in the bricks, it's not going to stay together. So when you're building your foundation, it has to have the right elements, and it has to have boundaries.
Got you. Can't build all over the place.
And you have to have the right amount of mortar. You have to have the right amount of mortar in between the bricks for the bricks to hold fast and hold everything that you place on top of these bricks. Now, oftentimes, and that's why I made an emphasis on the moon being in his fifth house in Virgo. He needs to pay attention to the details. If you want to be successful in building a house, you need to be on point and make sure your measurements are correct. And you're not, saying, oh, this looks better, so I'm going to buy this. But if that's not the type of material you need to build what you're seeking to build in life, it's not going to work out for you.
Okay.
And because
I'm glad you explained that. I'm glad you
explained. Saturn retrograde means look within yourself and make your own boundaries. Don't make your boundaries based on the expectations of society or your homeboys and things like that. And his Pluto is retrograde also. Pluto retrograde means you have to find the power within yourself.
Yeah, well, actually, you can run from everybody but yourself, which is
Right.
ironic.
And
Okay.
it's in that sixth house of service. So if you really want to know your strength, filthy rich, it's not what you can buy for yourself and stun on other people with, is how much you can contribute to the people in your community. So if
Yeah,
you
I
want to
don't.
see progress, you're going to have to start being selfless instead of selfish.
It's interesting, Dominic. I don't know why people nowadays think that they and they alone have access to everything, not understanding that we're all interconnected, directly or indirectly.
You
Okay.
couldn't you couldn't set it more clear. We're all connected.
Yeah.
And you want to change this world, you're going to have to be the greatest version of yourself, and you become the greatest version of yourself by living your purpose. And we all have the same purpose. We just have different roadmaps to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Our purpose of being here is to make this physical plane worthy of the return of the real gods. And that takes a shift in vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you can't shift the vibration if it's all about me, 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 me.
I agree. In fact, we have one of my first original guests. His name is Francis Revelsby, one of the most expert numerologists there is in the country and in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And he is given his full birthday. He's born on the 16th of March of 52 at 7 a.m. in East Meadow, Long Island, New York City. Okay. And I'm going to, while he is getting that together, let me read my good buddy. Francis' birthday, Brother Rebels Bay, I always call him Brother Rebels Bay. He has a birthday coming up in less than 3 weeks. I'm born on the 16th of February. He's born on the 16th of March. When we met originally, it was in 1978, and 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8 equals 25, and 2 plus 5 is 7. We met on the 7th of December. So I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It just shows how long my relationship has been with this particular companion, a brother, and stuff like that. He's written several books. In fact, I talked about showed some of his books along with all my other guests last week to show how people have grown in the days that we started at the Tree of Life in the '70s. How people are now publishing books and whatnot to get things together. But anyway, he is a Pisces 7 person. So he's a water sign with a water number. I'm an air sign with a water number, but he's water and water. So that just adds more sensitivity to it. If I'm not mistaken, Dominic, don't they often refer to Pisces as the psychic sign in numerology?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with 7 being a psychic number, he's in the psychic sign of Pisces. I would say that his intuitions and I mean the brother is very dynamic. So he was the first person that I had on my radio days in '81. He was the first person I had as my guest on this show when I started taking guests on Live with Lloyd. Okay, you got his information, Dominic. What say you?
Absolutely. He definitely real true to life psychic. His son is in his 12th house, and the 12th house is the house of psychic activity. It's the house of incarceration and prison too. But a lot of times, I got son in the 12th house too.
That's
I
interesting.
actually went to prison, but a lot
Mhm.
of times, we find ourselves imprisoned by
In
our
the
knowledge,
mind.
our awareness. Our awareness can imprison us. Our dread of being in this physical world and knowing, it's only this much that people got to do together in order to change stuff. And we see that people don't want to change, and it creates suffering for us. And our suffering becomes our prison.
What do you think that is, Dominic? It's almost like it's self sabotage. And Rebels Way, we're going to finish up, but why do you think that is?
Well, people have been taught to believe that they don't have power. So as long as you're feeling, powerless, why would you care? It's nothing
Much
you
less
can do
do
about it
something about it.
anyway. Right. You feel like you can't do nothing about it. Now, his moon sign is Scorpio. His sun is trine his moon. And the water sign, Trine makes his psychic power even more.
Yeah, he's the best. He's
the moon
best.
in Scorpio is right at the 8th house cusp, and the 8th house rules mediumship. His north node is in Pisces too.
Another psychic indicator.
The north node has to do with our purpose of incarnation in this life. And his north node is in Pisces, but it's in the 11th house.
Aquarius.
And that 11th house is the house of socialization. Our social environment, our community. It doesn't mean that we have to have an intimate, deep connection with these people. These are associate friends, people that we associate with. So his north node being in the 11th in Pisces, he's meant to bring spirituality to the general public and people through casual conversations. If he's out here, doing what you're doing and bringing the information to the masses, he's living his purpose, because Pisces
That's exactly
in the 11th house,
what he
north
does.
node, he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And he has Aries rising, so he's serious business. He ain't no pushover. He ain't no pushover. He knows how to assert himself. And the ruler of Aries is Mars, and that's in the sign of Scorpio.
He's got all those water elements by number and everything.
He's a stand-up brother, and he has Mars square Pluto. Mars square Pluto, and the brother get down for his people.
I would say he's not here, but I would say, knowing him since back in the day, as they would say, I would say you're spot on. There's no question about that. You're spot on. Now, listen, what we're going to do is this. For those that are listening, okay, we're running past an hour, but we're going to stay on a lot longer because of this. I mean, there's so many of you. We want to get more of you in. But in the meantime, I just want to pause a second so people can find out, Dominic, some things about you. Okay. And this is one of them here. Okay. So you got it right here. He is an astrologer, spiritual advisor, healer, sorcerer. His site is redclawconjurer.com. His IG, Instagram that I follow him on a regular basis is at Dominic369. And those are his numbers, by the way. His Cash App is Red Claw Conjure 369. Now, you know how I feel about the Cash App. You got to show love. He's got a beautiful little princess. She's less than a year. She's working on it, though, but she ain't quite there yet. All right. So I want y'all to show some love for his new addition to his family. Okay. And she's got a beautiful name. And, of course, his wife. And he's got some other kids, but those are the four-legged kids that I had the pleasure of meeting, too. They're no joke. They're no joke. And he has a channel on YouTube. It's Dominic369 Presents Occultism Unleashed. So these are several ways. Now, what's the best way that people, when we finish this show, because we're just getting started, what's the best way for people to reach out to you for readings, consultations, and things like this, where you go more in depth?
Go to my website, redclawconjurer.com, and book an appointment. I'm not talking to anybody that doesn't have an appointment.
Okay. In other words, no freebies. Don't be calling and say you saw him on Live with Lloyd and so and so. And please don't come with give me, can you spare? Is it free? The brother cannot feed his family. The brother cannot pay his bills. I don't know why, but maybe that's part of the programming. I was going to say I don't know why, but I do know why. We've been programming to spend money with everybody else but ourselves, and yet our purchasing power is in the billions and billions, almost trillions of dollars.
4 trillion.
4 trillion. The purchasing power of our people, right? No wonder everybody's in our communities. No, that would explain it. That's why it says that ignorance in our community is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we be starving in the midst of plenty, as they say. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, please don't approach this man and hurt his feelings, because y'all gonna get your feelings hurt. I know how this brother rolls, and he ain't mean about it, but he's got a family to feed and everything like that. But he is one of the best in his craft. Okay. So we got that out the way. So these are it here. And so now we're going to get back to it. Oh, and by the way, excuse me, the last time he was on, he did not have this, and now he does. You want to tell us about this, Dominic? Your book?
Well, it's exactly what it says. It is a beginner's guide to the ancient gods and its keys to transformation. It helps you understand the different energetic principles that the ancient gods of Egypt represent. You know, if you read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it tells you there is no part of me that is not of the gods. If you go to your Bible, it tells you you're created in the image and likeness of God. When Genesis starts out, it say, let us. Go read it. Don't take my word for it. Let us create man in our image and likeness.
I like the cover. I like the design. Who is this? Which pharaoh is this?
That's a friend of mine from the Philippines.
Really? That's nice. Now, is your book available on Amazon?
Yes, sir. You can get it as a paperback or a Kindle ebook.
Oh, you got it in ebook too. Okay, so there you see his book. Please listen. Every single one of my guests. Let me do this. With every single one of my guests, y'all should have their books in your house. Every single one. I must have showed a list of about 12 books or more that almost every other guest. Now, for those that I invite on, don't be saying, oh man, I gotta have a book. No. I'm not saying that at all. You don't need to have a book. But what you need to do is share. But what I'm saying is I'm seeing something that I have not seen when I started, as people like to say back in the day, where we were just doing things with my orange book, for example. When people look at my book and then they see it's me, you know what their first response is, Dominic? Oh, I didn't know you were Black. As if we did not have the ability to express these ancient African sciences in our own terms. But almost every guest I've had on, or every other guest, or more guests than is normal, have had books. So every book I show, I want you to support them. And in fact, I'm going to make a list of all the books again. So if y'all say, well, I didn't know, you ain't got no excuse not to have all of these books that I display in your library. Okay, these are all by metaphysicians of African American descent. So this is very, very important. So Dominic, I finished running my mouth. Okay, got that straight. All righty.
I want to say something too. You know, Lord, and it's important that you guys understand. You know, whether it's me, whether it's Lloyd, whether it's Kia or Monica or the brother, you know, the brother I just did a reading on. I apologize for not being able to recall your name off the top of my head. But we all provide services. The services that we provide, they're not for ourselves. We serve a higher order. So anything you do to support us, you supporting the order that we serve. I don't require people to purchase my services. That's why my YouTube channel is free. And if you go on there and you pay attention, you'll learn and you'll be able to do your own reads. It's a tarot crash course on there. I break down charts all the time so you have information about what's going on in the planets. You know, I give the transits almost every day of the week where it's a major transit. I do that for free with the expectation that you would take this free information and be inspired to learn. It's not about me being able to provide you a service or needing your money for the service. The things I do are to inspire you, because I'm a guy that went to prison at 16 and spent 15 years there. If I can tap into my power, you can tap into yours.
No excuses. None.
No excuses. It's
Get
no
it straight, Dominic. That's what I'm talking about.
If I have to do your work for you, you are going to pay me.
That makes sense, buddy. That makes all the sense in the world, Dominic. And why not?
Lloyd has stuff he does for free and information he teaches for free. I have it, and a myriad of other people, black, white, or candy stripe, are freely serving the ancient gods, whatever you want to call them. because all that energy is the same. One energy in the universe is all the same, and the
Amen on
different
that one.
names are different frequencies of this energy.
Good.
So if you can't take it upon yourself to learn from all of the free stuff that we provide to help you become the greatest version of yourself, you are going to pay us to do your work.
Yeah. And the lend me, give me, can you spare, is it free is over. It's a
Oh,
wrap. It's done. It's done. Not unless y'all can figure out how to tell us how to do it, because I'm sure y'all are not doing it. So why would you ask us to do something that you yourself would not do? You can't have it both ways. You cannot. It just doesn't work like that. All right, let's go back. We're going to extend the show. We're a little over an hour.
yeah, I'm
Right
cool.
now, Dominic and I had talked before, brother. When I get you back on, we're gonna run with this. So this is gonna be a situation right here, Dominic. This is okay. Marcellus Pittman, and she's got everything. She's born out of your city too.
Okay.
11/27/1975 at 1:39 p.m. So that means she's definitely in the ninth house somewhere. Yeah, somewhere around the ninth house. And she said, "Thanks so much, Dominic." So while you're looking up her aspects, let me say about this person. She is a Sagittarius. So no, Marcellus. I think that's a male. You would be a fire sign with a fire number, because as each zodiac sign is ruled by an element of nature, so are the numbers ruled by an element in nature too. So with a fire sign with a fire number, this is the same day that Bruce Lee is born on, Jimi Hendrix is born on, and other famous people of note. But the point is, so this way, if you are fired up with passion, drive, energy, that is, if you're not what is called in astrology, the term I think they use, Dominic, is afflicted. All right. If there's no afflictions in his chart, then this person has all the makings of being a success. First of all, fire signs normally don't take orders well. You show me most Aries, most Leos, most Sagittarians like Dominic. Pushover is not their middle name. They just don't roll like that. Okay. It's just what I'm saying is, so since he's got that fire energy, and nine like to be the master of their fate. He's born on the 27th. And the 27 in the tarot deck and in the Montrose book is called the Royal Scepter. One who succeeds is their productive intellect. So this guy is brilliant in his own way. It's just in which direction does he use his brilliance? And it all depends also on the environment. So if he's brought up in an environment where there's a lot of love and affection and attention and proper education, there is no reason for this person not to excel. But if he's born in an environment maybe otherwise, he will use those same gifts and maybe head in another way. So this is why it's important to not, you can have all the right aspects in your planets, but coming out of a wrong environment that will shape it in a way that makes it totally, totally different. Dominic?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Now this is another person that has good psychic ability. You guys are Pisces rising, Jupiter in the first house, but it's intercepted in Aries. But he has the Sun conjunct Neptune, conjunct Mercury. I have the same stellium in Sagittarius.
Mm.
Mercury conjunct Neptune, conjunct the Sun in Sagittarius. Mine are in the 12th house, his are in the 9th house. Now, anytime the Sun and Neptune are conjunct, it gives you psychic ability. Anytime Mercury and Neptune are together, that's psychic ability. You know, but in the 9th house, it says this is a person who needs to have faith in their abilities. You have to have faith in your abilities in order for you to manifest with the power that you actually have. You have to have faith in your ability. And you have, Jupiter, which is intercepted in your first house, which might, anytime a planet is intercepted in a house, that means it's boxed in and the energy can't move freely. Now, with Jupiter being intercepted in your first house, you have abundance, you have fortune, and you might have issues with weight gain and things like that, or getting excessive weight off. But you also have the power, because Jupiter in Aries, it gives you that extra oomph and energy you need to get out and work out and deal with your, athletic energy.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is, his moon is over there in Virgo in the seventh house. His moon's in Virgo in the seventh house, and a lot of times that can get you caught up on details that don't matter. Get you caught up on details that don't matter, especially in regards to, your emotional relationship with your parents.
We talked about the environment. That's
Because
interesting.
exactly. And his moon is square the 10th house, which rules the mother, and it's square the fourth house, which rules the father.
Oh, yep. Yep.
Mars is retrograde in the fourth house, which tells of, conflict, and it's in a sign of Gemini, so it might have just been a lot of verbal abuse. But verbal abuse can do more damage than physical abuse at times.
Yeah. Psychological abuse is the worst.
You know, so it's important, brother, that you find your faith. Your sun is in the ninth house. Mercury is there. Use your imagination. Use your imagination. Don't be scared to reach out to people of foreign cultures and things like that, because that's where you're going to excel. That's where you're going to excel. And, Pluto being conjunct Venus in your seventh house, it's important that you don't carry over those toxic relationship patterns that you learned in your childhood and from your family,
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because that leads you to abuse the people that you love, and that doesn't turn out good.
All right. That sounds like spot on advice. And
Emotional
everybody,
manipulation.
excuse
Emotional
me, what is this?
manipulation is a form of abuse that people take for granted, and it does a lot of damage.
Now, what kind of manipulation is this again?
Emotional manipulation,
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
where you guilt trip people or you invalidate people's importance to you and make them feel like you don't need them in your life, or they're not an important facet of your life if they're not doing exactly what you need them to do. Now, Pluto rules his eighth house, and the eighth house is the resources of your significant others, their money. You know, you don't want to use that to control them or allow yourself to be manipulated by them due to the resources they can provide you, especially emotional support. Pluto conjunct Venus, it brings that out. And like I said, Aries is intercepted in the first house and Libra is intercepted in the seventh house. So it's important that you find balance, not only in how you use your power and you got powerful emotions, but how you allow other people to use your emotions against you.
Well, before we go to the next person, which is right here, I thought that's interesting because part of what seems to be going on in this society right now, at least here in this country, is the shaming effect.
Emotional manipulation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that is so spot on, man. It's just like, well, anyway, we can talk about a whole thing, but that's why we can spend this time. This person is Cortland Hilton. They're born in Chicago at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and they're born on July the 30th. It makes them a Leo at 1966. So that information is at the bottom of your screen while I switch over and read this particular person, Cortland. Cortland, you are a fire sign with a fire number. It's interesting. The last person, Marcellus, a fire sign with a fire number, you would therefore exhibit the same characteristics. However, where the Sagittarius with the fire sign with the fire number was in a mutable sign, you are a fire sign with a fire number and a fixed sign. So that means you would be even more determined in terms of pursuing your goals, your dreams, and things like that. The birth number of the 30, which is the compound that denotes mental superiority, a big thinker. The only thing you have to be careful of is going to excess, to extremes with anything, whether it's too much ice cream or too much this, that, and the other. But you're very passionate. The worst mistake anybody can make from looking at your life history is when you've accomplished something, somebody says, you probably can't do this and you probably can't do that. And that energy with the fire sign and the fire number says, you watch what I'm going to do. So I wouldn't mess with you personally. So this year, you're in a 7 personal year. And how I got it, for those may not be familiar, I took the month, the day, but instead of the year you're born to determine your destiny, okay, I took it and added the present year that you're in right now for 2022. So when I took that, July the 30th, 2022, you're in a 7 personal year. So that means this year for you is to get your spiritual house in order. So if you open up the year instead of in a social environment, but at home or church or prayer or meditation, that would make sense in the world. And since 7 is magnetic in its energy, it says don't chase after what you want. You magnetize what you want. As the elders would say, you therefore let go and let God. Anyway, um,
Lloyd,
um,
you spot on about where he's at in life right now, because Neptune is transiting through his 10th house, and the 10th house is our place in the world.
and Neptune is ruled by the number 7. That's interesting. Go ahead.
Yep. And that's the planet of spirituality, intuition, and psychic awareness. Jupiter is transiting his 9th house with his sun. Now, his natal sun is in Leo, and is conjunct Mercury in his 2nd house, which keeps him from the worst degrees of want. Even though he has Cancer on the 2nd house cusp, the sun and Leo and Mercury, he knows how to think and get his paper straight. And that's always a bonus. The moon in his chart is in Capricorn, and the moon is opposite his 1st house. The moon in Capricorn, it makes you cold and detached in your relationships, and hinders you from being as nurturing as you need to be. Or and the moon is connected to our mother. So when the moon is in Capricorn, it kind of says that we didn't get the nurturing we needed in order to function properly.
That's interesting. That's very
Now,
interesting.
the Capricorn moon, it gives you the ability to be emotionally detached, but just because you had the ability and capacity to be emotionally detached, it doesn't mean that you always need to operate in that way. Because the sign of Capricorn, again, that's the sign of boundaries and limitations. But it's also the sign that helps you go to your highest heights, because the mountain goat climbs up the mountain to reach the top of the mountain. And you can't reach your greatest heights without cultivating compassion for others. So the moon in Capricorn, it gives us the ability to be cold and callous, but it asks us to do that when it's necessary and not all the time.
Okay, good. This next person is Pamela Morris, and she wants a reading for her son. Now, her son is born on September the 18th, 1971. That's interesting because remember I was telling you about Jimi Hendrix born on November 27th? Well, he died on September the 18th from taking, I think, 27 or something barbiturate tablets. In other words, everything about him was a 9. Here's the thing about Pamela's son. And I'll switch over to me for a second while he's looking at that information. One thing she didn't give you was the time and the location, but I guess you can figure out other aspects. But here's the thing, Pamela, your son is 999 across the board. Here's what I'm saying. He's born in the 9th month. He's born on the 18th day. 1 plus 8 is 9. And he's born in 1971. And those 4 numbers add to 18, which is a 9. So he's a triple 9. So it tells me, first of all, your son would be more accident prone than illness prone. It tells me that since he's born in 71, he may have pursued a career that had a strongly Mars aspect affecting him, which means he may have had an interest in joining the military, law enforcement, construction, things of that nature, where he would handle tools or machines or instruments or things of that nature. It's interesting. Fire does not like diseases at all. So normally he's not sickly, however, unless he is afflicted, as astrologers would say. However, what does like him in that way are accidents and injuries and arguments and confrontations. 9 also rules alcohol. And I always tell a person with a strongly 9 aspect, as your son has, to not make alcohol their best friend, because 9s can be impulsive when they lose control and they lose their temper. And then sometimes they will say or do things that when they come out of it and clear their heads, wish they'd have thought different before going into it. Dominic, you ready?
Yeah. From looking at his chart, his sun and moon are both in Virgo, and the sun is conjunct Pluto. So, as Lloyd was saying, your son has a lot of reckless energy about himself. And it's important that he don't allow his ego to get him in trouble. You know, the sun conjunct Pluto, it can give you a lot of magnetism, or it can create a big problem with your ego where you create problems for yourself that are hard for you to get out of. You know, and these problems usually have to do with your lack of control for yourself, or your inability to control others, that makes you lash out and get into confrontations with people. You can't control nobody but yourself. You can only control how you respond to their behavior.
Yep. Yep.
And that's a fact. And it's a fact that people have trouble accepting. But whether you have problems accepting that or not, it doesn't matter. The universe energy still works the same way.
That is one thing about the universe. It doesn't discriminate. They don't care your size, your height, your gender, your age. When these factors take place in the universe, what you're going to do. This person here is Shay Shay. They didn't give a time or location, but they said they were born July the 19th, 1987. So while you look up those aspects right quick, which doesn't take long because they didn't provide the other key pieces of information, let me switch over a second and say to Shay Shay, they are a water sign with a fire number. Now, the nature of the elements would seem contradictory, but in metaphysics, we're talking differently. On one hand, they have the Shay Shay has that emotional component, which means feelings and affections and hunches and intuitions and a inner knowing about things. But then again, she brings to the table that fire energy of the 19-1, which is called the Prince of Heaven. So in this case of Shay Shay, I will say the Princess of Heaven, denoting honor, success, and esteem. So that means with this particular combination of the birthday, she will therefore take that energy that she feels or have an intuition for and be very determined in carrying out those goals, those objectives, and things of that nature. The fact that she is in a 5 personal year, I do believe, let me see, yes, she's in an 8-5. That means she's at a turning point. She's at a pivotal point in her affairs where she's trying to make a decision as to which way she needs to go with this. But I'll leave the rest up to my good buddy, Dominic.
Well, she has a Cancer sun and a Taurus moon, which is a good combination. Earth sign moon and a water sign sun. So her subconscious is watered. It's nurtured by how she consciously projects herself. Now her sun is conjunct Venus, both in Cancer. So this says she's a nurturer, a caretaker. And the Taurus moon gives her the ability to generate the revenue necessary to take care of people and live the opulent lifestyle that she likes to live. And it's not so much that she's materialistic. The wealth provides comfort and security, and Cancer is a sign that needs that. Now, I can't really say too much about the houses because she didn't give me a location or a time. But Mars is the planet that tells how you assert yourself. Her Mars is in Leo. And Mars in Leo is making a square to Pluto in Scorpio. Now, again, this gives a tendency and propensity towards, violent outbursts, because Mars and Leo gives you a funny way of asserting yourself, and it's usually theatrical and dramatic. And when you get theatrical and dramatic, and your ego's involved,
Is that where the word drama queen comes from?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Not to say she's a drama queen, but I'm just saying
Oh,
that.
oh, she's a drama queen because she got Mercury, Venus, and the Sun in Cancer, so she's real emotional. So
Right, right. All that water element. Yeah,
when she
feelings
gets
and
emotional, she asserts herself with the Mars energy, and Mars is in Leo. Leo is a childish sign. So you assert yourself in a theatrical way, in a spoiled way. And it's making a square to Pluto in the sign of Scorpio. So even if you're dead in the wrong, you're super passionate and you don't let go of your perspective. And this will do you more damage than good.
interesting. Interesting. We're gonna go with this next person. They provided their information. They are born on September the 19th of 1966 at 1:10 a.m. in the morning in New York City, right here. Okay, so while he is looking up those aspects, and Dominic, you should see all that information at the bottom of your screen, buddy. All right. For me as a numerologist, you are an Earth sign with a fire number versus our last person who was a water sign with a fire number. Interesting enough, also born on the 19th day too. In fact, but in this case, you bring more practicality, more common sense to your passions, if that makes sense, because that's the nature of Earth. They're very conservative, very grounded, very down to earth. Like to use a little common sense. And Virgo's symbol is I analyze. In other words, always taking into consideration what their next move is going to be. But it tells me this is a very self-assertive Virgo in the sense that they need to have positions of authority, like a supervisor, director, CEO, manager, head their own department. And let's say worst case that this person never had a title, wherever this person has worked that nobody ever says, you see so and so over there, don't go mess with them. Because everybody knows exactly what time it is. Their key numbers are the 1, 4, and 5. Their best days are always on a Sunday, a Tuesday, and a Wednesday. And they tend to do well and tend to do best in and around the months of February, April, June, August, and September. Now, when I have a client and I explain these months to them, then I take them what is called through a Q&A, which is the most fun part. I read a lady out of Florida today, and almost everything I asked her a question, she was just underscoring all of her months and days and dates. It's the most phenomenal thing, and I've learned that born in New York, where everybody comes from the show me state of Missouri. And what it does is it makes me do my homework. So, Dominic, what do you say about this Virgo 1 person born in New York City at 1:10 in the morning?
They're a witch.
She's a what?
A witch.
What do you mean?
You know, their title fits them. You know, a witch. A
Really?
witch is just a person, a wise person. It's a
Ah,
feminine
in that
name
sense.
for a wizard. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and she has Cancer rising with Jupiter exalted in Cancer in the first house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jupiter is making a sextile to her stellium. She has a stellium in Virgo, which is
Mm-hmm.
four planets all in Virgo, and they're all conjunct. She has Venus, Pluto, Uranus, and Sun all conjunct. That makes her a damn good psychic
Interesting. Interesting.
because they're in the third house of the mind. These planets are not trined, but sextile by Neptune and the moon in Scorpio.
Hmm.
So Neptune and the moon conjunction give you psychic power to give you the ability to astral travel and things like this. And these are also making a sextile to the stellium in Virgo in the mind. You know?
I think that is very, very interesting.
Very, very interesting. But the bad thing about the chart is, and it's not a bad thing, it's a lesson. You know, the lesson she needs to learn because there's Saturn and Pisces in the ninth house retrograde. And that's opposite this stellium in the third house. Don't take up too much information. With all those planets in your third house, this is the universe telling you, we already given you everything you need. You don't need to go read this person's book or take this person's course. Trust your intuition. Trust your intuition. It's going to get you a lot further than any studies you can make. Know thyself and you shall know all things. You're powerful. You are powerful. Give yourself some credit. I understand Saturn in the Pisces, kind of dampers down on your self-worth and gives you a limiting beliefs about, what you can do and things like that, and kind of hinders your faith. Come up out of that, because you can do more profound things than you're doing already.
All right, that sounds good. And because even when I was looking at her numbers, she has very, very powerful numbers. But it's like all things, it's what we do with our power or not taking advantage of our power. That which I think is the most amazing thing that can be done. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, wish her all the best. Now there is one. I'm trying to be fair to everybody because this is like, well, there's packed house up in here, so we won't be able to read everybody, but we are going to spend that kind of time to, as I said, get involved with everybody else. Let me see, where did I put this at? Hold on, just bear with me, folks, 1 second. Let me ask you this: with all those planets that are going retrograde, well, they're not all of them, but 4 of them in the heat. Well, let me get me on here. In the heat of the summer of August, they talk about dog days of summer. With those planets, that many planets being retrograde, doesn't that indicate that one has to be a little cautionary, and especially since the United States is afflicted this year with Pluto aspecting the chart of the United States?
Yeah, Saturn retrograde is going to, Saturn rules the Capricorn in the United States chart, which is the money house. That's going retrograde. You're going to see some financial crisis, more inflation. Perhaps job loss, people losing houses and things like that. Neptune goes retrograde, and Neptune rules Pisces. Pisces is on United States, third house, but it's intercept. And that's why this country rules everybody by deception. Even its own people.
Interesting.
They base the reality, they create a mirage of reality. Neptune rules films and Hollywood.
That's right.
Music. They use these things
illusions and delusions.
They use these things to enchant the people. So as Neptune goes retrograde through this third house, you're going to see, and it's not because they want to change the programming. It's because, like I said, it's forces at work in the universe that don't give a damn if you're the United States, if you're China, if you're black, white,
or anything else for that matter,
Christian, Muslim, or Jew. If you're interfering with this divine order, Mayat being restored, the things that you've been using for your power are going to get destroyed. So you're going to see a lot of things come out, a lot of changes in the music and the film industry, a lot of people that have been doing corrupt stuff in those industries. Substance abuse. Neptune rules substance abuse and drugs.
And that has definitely been an affliction in this country.
Yeah. You're gonna see the chickens coming home to roost, and you're gonna see awareness expanding and people rejecting a lot of these things because people are starting to understand. When they came out with like the social media and all this stuff, they had the idea of using it as a control mechanism to dumb people down, because the dumber you are, the easier it is to control
you. Yep.
That's why they want you to do all these dumb dances and stuff on your page to get views. You got to make the reels doing all type of dumb stuff, or the TikTok videos. If you don't do all the weirdo stuff, they don't send people to the page. They designed it for destruction, but anything you design has two purposes. It can heal or it can kill. It can build or destroy. That's everything in the world. Even water, if you drink too much water, it'll kill you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bleach can be a purifier for water, or it can be poison. There's people like yourself. You've been doing this before I was born. So I'm always going to give you big props because you've been fighting the fight.
Yeah, I've been out here a minute. That's for sure. That's definitely for sure.
You know, you've been fighting the fight. And now they've made it possible for people to put the truth out to millions and millions of people. And all it takes is a seed. All it takes is a seed with the right amount of nurturing to set somebody's soul on fire, to break the mental chains.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It just takes a seed
mm-hmm.
and a little bit of cultivation. And you've been doing that work for years. You've been on the front line for years, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And now because you have a trusted name, you bringing a lot more people to the forefront to add value, to spread awareness. They never anticipated their platforms being used for education.
Not like this, metaphysically speaking.
Not to sow seeds, and it is. Even when people go across these pages that are full of garbage and fear-mongering and mumbo-jumbo stuff that don't even work, it plants a seed. It gets that fire burning. That's why I tell people, your parents might not have gave you a good example of what to do, but they gave you a good example of what not to do.
So all we got to do is pay attention and go from there. Now we're going to take a couple more. I'm see we're heading toward the 2-hour mark. I'm not. You know, you got family, and let me tell you this. What happens is I was unaware that Monica Bay, who my intended guest is, had an emergency. So I hope everything is okay. And thank goodness for Dominic, because Dominic was the one that brought her name to my attention that I looked up. In fact, she's out of Atlanta. So whatever the aspect is, and because I didn't hear from her all day, I then reached out to Dominic, and it dawned on me as I'm calling Dominic to find out, is there any way to get in touch with her? I says, well, if push comes to shove, guess who I'm going to have? And I've been wanting to get him back so we could talk at length and see how the gods worked out just like that, you know? So I will have Monica. So when you see and look at the past show and it says Monica Bay and you see Dominic Holmes, don't take it personal, okay? We did not know, and I don't know how to and that was at the last minute that we did this, but Dominic came through, and I really, really appreciate him because he's got a life. He's got a family. He's got things to do. He's putting out his business products and stuff like that. And so the fact that he would take the time out to share this time with me, and then it gave me a perfect excuse to go overtime too. All right, so everything worked out. Everything worked out.
You know, this is my life, bro.
Yeah, me too.
This is my life. You know?
Yeah.
Like I said, everything I do is to prepare this world for the presence of the ancient gods. And that's, you know, Monica, my teacher, she saved me from the streets. Like, she literally called me on the phone. I had a truck full of dope. She was like, I thought I told you to stay out the streets. You got a bigger purpose. And I ain't looked back since.
And brother, no, and see, and for that very reason, we probably wouldn't have crossed paths. You see, so everything is always in the right place at the right time.
Right time.
In perfect order with the universe. There's no question. There's no question. Now we're going to do a couple more readings. We're going to do a review of how people can get in touch with you, and we're going to show people how they can get your book. All righty. So we got Mika Mo. She is born October the 9th of 1972. She's got all her stuff. She's born at 2:21 a.m. She's born in D.C. She now says she resides in Metro Atlanta. Okay. So you see her information at the bottom of the screen. So I'm just going to get in here a second and say to Mika Mo that you are an air sign with a fire number, which are elements that are considered harmonious one to the other. All righty. It means that you are therefore not only use the power of deductions and mental analysis, but then you got that nine that brings the power to back it up, because numerically speaking, nines are the fighters of all the numbers. If you want to fight, they will take it to you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Nine people are the wrong people to mess with because they're governed by the planet Mars, which is the planet of action, the planet of war, things of that nature. Not that you're warlike, but the point is because nine, to the other hand, can be very motivational, inspirational, bringing out the best in other people. And nine is a leadership number because they like to be the masters of their fate and control their own destiny. That is normally the benchmark of any person born on any nine out of all the 12 months. So it's just not her. But this particular year that I'm looking at, she is also entering a seven personal year. So as Dominic looks through her cosmic or the ephemeris to see what's happening, Neptune may be strongly aspected in her chart this year, numerically speaking, in the sense that seven makes you do soul searching. Seven makes you stop, look, and listen to ask yourself, why am I doing these things? Why am I dealing with you? There could be somebody close in her life that's real, real nice and whatnot. They could be in bed sleeping like a teddy bear, and she looks and say, why are you here? Now, she may not wake them up to discuss why you're here, but the point is the nature of her cycle this year is about going within, paying attention, having the most interesting dreams. So she should order a journal that one of my hosts, one of the guests, has put out a dream journal that people can take things. And also, Nina, my eight diamond lady, she has a cardology planner. So all of my guests are bringing to the table some very, very fascinating things. But for you this year, it says don't chase after what you want, Miko. It is simply by just thinking about it, it will come to you just through that concentration. Dominic, you ready, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All righty, you got it.
Well, you got the sun in Libra and the moon in Scorpio. You have Leo rising. Your sun is conjunct Uranus in your third house. Sun conjunct Uranus give you good intuition. It's like the universe airdrop information to you. And these are making a sextile to your rising sign. So, people know that you just get information out of the blue. They know you got intuition, and it's hard to keep things from you. This also gives you an inventive nature and kind of abstract nature. You're very unique in the way that you present yourself to the world. As Lloyd was saying, this is a transformative year for you. Neptune, the planet of spirituality, and Jupiter are transiting your eighth house. Now, people say the eighth house is a house of death, and it is, because that's where we lose part of ourselves at. In order, we let go of things that aren't working, and that helps us transform and become a greater version of ourselves. With Neptune moving through your eighth house, it is turning up your intuition, turning up your psychic ability. You're probably having a lot of dreams and things right now, and that hits on Lloyd saying, get you a dream journal. It's important that you write your dreams down, not just your hopes and wishes, but the dreams that you have at night. It's important that you write them down. Just not you, everybody. It's important that you write your dreams down and keep notes of your dreams, because that's the language of your subconscious. And sometimes it's just your subconscious purging stuff that you watch during the day or listen to in the music,
Dominic, I like how you put that. That is the language of the subconscious. I like how you put that. And that makes all the sense in the world. Continue.
It gives you the opportunity to purge some of that stuff, but it also gives you good insight, because the dream world is interlayered. Like reality is an onion. It's a circle, but it's an onion. And it has different layers, and some of the layers have no space between them or a thin veil in between them. And the dream world parallels with the astral plane. So sometimes you might just be getting cluttered out of your subconscious from what you've seen and heard throughout the day and watched on TV and this stuff. But sometimes something out of place will pop into that scene. And I hope you guys are taking notes, because that out of place thing is usually something from your subconscious trying to fall down into you and give you information. You know, if you notice in your dreams, nobody talks out loud. People communicate telepathically. Sometimes your dreams aren't in color. Sometimes you're watching yourself in the dream, and sometimes you're observing other things going on in the dream. The perspective of your dream also plays a major part in how you interpret the dream. If you're participating, it usually is something directly to do with you. If you're observing, it's telling you you need to be paying attention to things. You know, if you're going up, you're usually trying to travel to a higher plane, whether you're going up in the elevator, up in the tree, up the stairs, you're going down, is you going into the depths of yourself.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
You know, your teeth are how you eat. Some people dream about losing their teeth. Your teeth are how you eat. So if you're losing your teeth in a dream, that's telling you, you know, you're not getting the right nurturing you need. You're in a situation where you can't nurture yourself. And then it's up to you to further break that down. So it's important that you keep notes of your intuition and work to digest them.
Very good. We got Adrian here. She's born on February the 15th, 73, 8:39 a.m., which means she should have been somewhere close to the 12th house, bordering on the cusp. I mean, not the 12th house, the 11th house, I should say, in New York City. So while you do that, that's at the bottom of your screen. Can you see it, Dominic?
Yep.
Okay. Well, first of all, Adrian, you are an Aquarius. You are a fixed sign. But if I had to describe you by way of the elements, you would be an air sign with an earth number, which means you use both logic and practicality to do things. So some of the things that you think about, some of the things that you deduce mentally, you try to put it in a way that's concrete, because that's the nature of earth. They like to have something solid, like terra firma, like, you know, have both feet on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Not up in the air, which is symbolic of Aquarius. A couple of things that's going for you too, Adrian. This is the age of Aquarius. Symbolically, this is the age of women. So just that alone, you have these things going for you. But if I look at your birthday, though, when I look at your birthday of February the 15th, it tells me you're in a 5 personal year. So you're at this midway point. In numerology, the numbers go from 1 to 9. So 5 is the halfway point. That's why they call it the pivotal cycle. It's the cycle where you're at a fork in the road where you want to make some changes and decide which direction you need to go. So Mercury may be transiting in a way that probably that Dominic might see or confirm in a way that makes you want to make changes. And normally these changes are almost always, without exceptions, for the better. It just depends on what area you wish to make the change. And whether it's with a health, whether relationship, whether a job or residence, whatever the case is, that's it. Dominic?
Yeah, so the sun is definitely in the 12th house. Sun is in the 12th house. Barely in the 12th house though. So you were close when you said 11th house. The 12th house starts at 26 degrees Aquarius, 29 minutes. Her sun's at 26 degrees, 45 minutes.
Okay.
Now the moon in this chart is in Leo. So the sun and moon are in opposite signs. They're not opposite in opposition in her chart, but they're in opposite signs. So her moon sign wants her to be a stunner, wants her to have the fame and the glory and things like that. You know, and that's how she markets and promotes herself. But in all actuality, in secret, because the sun is in the 12th house, she's very much of a humanitarian. Very much a person who likes to nurture and take care of other people in the community and tries to do a lot of things for other people. Now, The sun is in its fall in the sign of Aquarius because it's the opposite sign of, of the sign it naturally rules, Leo. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when you try to, consciously project yourself as somebody who cares about the well-being of all people and someone who's, accepting of all people, you can spread yourself too thin. And in doing so, you create a form of prison for yourself
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because you're trying to please everybody and want to be seen in a specific way. But your moon in Leo tells you, you're supposed to conduct yourself in a royal manner. The best type of king or queen is one that's generous and caring and nurturing to their subjects.
Interesting. Interesting. That makes sense too. That makes sense. That makes
So
sense.
it's important that you understand that you can be glamorous and a diva and still care about people. You can still care about people. And I understand your son is in the 12th house, so you like to do your charity work in secret and behind the scenes. But don't give so much of yourself that you can't live in a way that helps you fulfill your purpose. Because your North Node is in the 10th house in the sign of Capricorn. That means you're supposed to be a power player. You're supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to be a boss. Your Mars is in the sign of Capricorn in your 9th house. So it's important that you make proper connections with people overseas and people of foreign cultures, people that live across the country and things like that. It's going to help you power up. It's going to really help you power up.
Very good. Now, you know what? We're approaching nearly 2 hours, so I'm going to take one more call that we're going to analyze, one more person. Then I'm going to show on the screen how people can get in touch with you for in-depth consultations and how to support what you're doing, and to also this remarkable channel that you developed on YouTube, so they can actually learn, like you said, for free. But everything is not free. This gentleman has a new addition to his home, and they say baby needs shoes. That's what they used to say in Harlem all the time. Baby needs shoes. Okay. So what I'm saying is that please take advantage of it, and also how to get his book. All of that is now. This one is from Janae. Hold up, where is it? Okay, Janae Kennedy. All righty, and she says, Dominic, she is born in Robindale, Minnesota. I guess that's I guess that means Minnesota, and she would love a reading. She's born uh, March the 28th, 1996 at 11:58 p.m. So while you're looking that up and that information is at the bottom of your screen, I'm going to shift and say that you are a fire sign with a fire number. Sometimes the rule is sometimes too much of can just as be bad as none of. But if you know how to strike a balance, in other words, fire can be used for beneficial things, but if fire goes wild, it can symbolically burn down the place. So it all depends on how you direct your energy. Aries is known to be, it is the first fire sign in the horoscope, followed by Leo, followed by Sagittarius. But it also means that this particular spirit of yours, and since one is a leadership number, if for you to really be honestly happy with yourself, you need to have some positions of authority. Maybe you thought about growing up as a kid being a lawyer, doctor, scientist, but whatever it is, it's always indicate innovative. And the birthday does suggest, according to what I'm going to be demonstrating in Clubhouse tomorrow at 7 p.m. Uh, uh, um, Learn from Lloyd with numerology, and my club, my room is called Numbers in You, based upon my book and all the other things. That's been my signature name. But it does indicate that this time for you is going to be very good. And in fact, you're in a one cycle year. Now, one thing is the fact that if you're in a one cycle year and it's matching your birthday, which is a one, is very significant. But it does indicate that you were probably raised or influenced by a third party coming up as a grandmother, auntie, whatever the case is. And I think, Dominic, you should be ready for our last one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, here we go, buddy.
I'm glad to see this. Her chart has a grand trine in fire.
Whoa. Now, that's, I was going to say, what does a grand trine mean? And I think For those who, it's in fire, but astrologically, which we understand and others in our field, what does a grand trine mean to a lay person like her, for example, that may not know? Jeanette.
Now that means you have three planets 120 degrees, three or more planets 120 degrees apart, all in the same element within 10 degrees of each other. You know, 6 to 10 degrees, and you have a grand trine with the moon in Leo, Pluto, the moon in Leo in the eighth house. Now this gives you mediumistic abilities. This gives you talk to the dead, you see the dead and stuff like that, especially in your dreams. Now, this is making a trine to Pluto in your 12th house, giving you secret spiritual power and a lot of psychic force. But Pluto is retrograde, so you really have to start tapping into yourself to believe in that. And then that Pluto and the moon make a trine to the sun and Mars in your 4th house in the sign of Aries. Because all this fire is working together, it's making one big triangle. That means the energy works easily with each other. A trine means you can do things effortlessly. Now, because it's the 12th house, the 8th house, and the 4th house, this has to do with, inheritance and things like that, and resources from other people, acquiring land, and especially dealing with people, who aren't capable of doing for themselves. Because Pluto rules your 11th house, it doesn't have to be an intimate friendship. It can be somebody you know, and Pluto is also ruling your 12th house because you have Scorpio on your 11th and 12th house. It could be that you gain a lot of resources and a lot of power from people, that are in an institution or in the street life, and they trust you to handle business for them and reward you well. It's important that you always use your intuition in this and don't get caught up in no foolishness, trying to help other people. You got Jupiter and Neptune conjunct in your second house of money, and Uranus is also in your second house of money. You don't have no money problems. You don't have no money problems, and that grand trine really helps you out. It really helps you out, man. And I would advise you to jump into real estate and don't stop running.
Wow, what a way to end the show. Dominic, I gotta thank you, man. This is how this world. Well, let me say this. This is his link where you can get in touch with him. So I want to explain everything to you, or Dominic, you want to explain everything about how people can get in touch with you, your website, your Instagram, your Cash App, your YouTube channel. You articulated yourself.
Well, anywhere you put in Dominic 369, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, you're gonna find me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And through those, you can find a link to my website, redclawconjure.com. Again,
Now, go ahead.
Again, I much rather you take time to learn and tap into your own power. We can't change the world if everybody is staying the same.
Yeah. When people come to me for a reading, all right, and there's a fee, because keeping it real, got to pay bills. I tell them they can get more out of my book than they can get from me. But people want to take this route. I mean, I don't mind, because that's how we pay our bills.
Right.
But I mean, the information is all in my book, Numbers in You, a numerology guide for everyday living. And just take time to read, to learn, because that's all that we do is about teaching them how to learn how to be better persons on this planet. Because from the womb to the tomb, my attitude is we're all a number. It's just what we do or don't do with the numbers that we are assigned. So everybody, please, my special guest, Dominic Home, that set in for Monica Bay. And please tell her for me, I hope she's okay, and I'll rearrange another time for her. But he's a spiritual advisor, a healer, a sorceress, a great father, husband, a farmer. Okay, the brother got more titles up in here, but we only got 200 characters, so that's all we can do. All right, so redclawconjurer.com is his website. Then for IG, go to Dominic369 for Cash App. And you know how I feel about the Cash App, folks. All of us are doing this on faith. Every single person that you do, they got family, they got responsibilities, but they chose to choose this life, which is not an easy path to take. That's why I know when people come on my show, you're serious. There's no safety net for none of us. None. If we don't do the work, we don't get paid. So please don't insult any of my guests by freebies or let me give me done. That's not do that with other folks if you're going to do it, but don't do it with ourselves. Please take that somewhere else. We've been talking with each other like that for more times and more decades than we can imagine. His YouTube channel is Dominic369 presents Occultism Unleashed, where you can actually learn this for no charge. Okay. So, Dominic, anything you want to say, buddy, before you close up? And I want to just announce who's going to be on next week, but don't go anywhere. Your last words, buddy.
I just want to say to everybody, man, if we all do our part, things will get a lot better, a lot faster. You know, everything you should do should be dedicated to becoming the greatest version of yourself. Because when you're the greatest version of yourself, you're living your purpose. And when you live in your purpose, you have the momentum of the universe behind you. It doesn't matter what they throw in front of us. We make a mistake a lot talking about what they're doing or what they're going to do. We already know they're going to continue to do what they've been doing. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?
Makes all the sense in the world to me, Dominic. I want to thank you. I really, really, really want to thank you for this, man, because you were home minding your business, okay? When I called the brother, help, help, you know? And again, when you do talk to Monica, I hope that the emergency wasn't too bad. She is the first that wasn't able to make it, but knowing her reputation like yours, the fact she couldn't make it, it must have been super serious. So
Yeah,
please give her my regards in that and just tell her we'll reschedule her at another time. That's no problem at all.
absolutely.
So what I want to do, folks, is just switch over to me a second and say, "Oh, ho, hold it. No, 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 no. We're gonna take a couple of minutes because I need to let people know that I want everybody to get. Let me see this way here, here, here. Everybody need to get this man's book. Okay, get his book. It's available at Amazon.com. It's also in an ebook form. Tell them about it just a little bit more, Dominic, and I'll let you be and go back to your family.
Again, it helps you break down and understand the energies of the universe. The gods are just manifestations of energy in the universe. There's no part of you that is not of the gods. If you want to understand yourself, understand the energy that you have and the potential that you have, get the book. It's written in a way that anybody can understand it without any mumbo jumbo spooky stuff. Grab the book, read, understand, put it into practice, do your part.
Sounds a little easy to me, buddy. All we got to do is do our part. But I do want to thank Dominic. Um, I'm going to have two guests on Monday, the 28th of February. I'm going to have a dear friend of mine named Jeffrey Vincent Noble. I just call him Jeff Noble. And I wasn't able to get the promo piece for him, but this is a brilliant brother. I mean, in fact, he's founded the Noble Touch. That's about raising people's consciousness. He's a healer, a very extraordinary. Well, all the guests I have on as far as I'm concerned, but if I'm partial to my guests, so be it. Okay. And then on the Wednesday, the 2nd of March, I'm going to have this distinguished brother on, Brother Antoine Gordon, a very extraordinary brother. He just became a father of a beautiful son who's under the sign of Aquarius. Yay for Aquarius, okay? But he will be with us on Wednesday discussing some of the things that he does. So, everybody, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to thank Dominic for all this because, again, he was home minding his business and I asked could he help me out to see what's happening because normally I don't have a guest that don't call me with a follow up. Everything has been flawless, and but you know in real life things do happen. And when he said he couldn't reach her, I says Dominic, okay, and here we are. So everybody have a blessed day. Have a great weekend tomorrow on Clubhouse. at 7 p.m. Learn from Lloyd with numerology, and we're going to be discussing the formative cycles from the birthday and a couple other things that should be fascinating. And again, we're welcoming novices that people's never known, beginners that people have gotten they toe wet in this, and professionals who's knee deep in this. And also, we're going to be having other numerologists that have been on my show that we've had good relationships with that will give their angle of how to look at the numbers in the stars. Everybody, have a blessed day. Thank you very much. Until then.